Morning guys, so Cycle Preacher here. This morning we're going to be trying our hand at installing some SW Motech crash bars, which I've got here. There's the bars, brand new, shipped in from America. Bag of nuts and bolts, bits and pieces to go with them. Instructions over here, which are always handy. Okay guys, so for this install you're going to need an assortment of fairly basic tools. I've got a mallet just to bang in any bolts that give me any hassle. These are wire brush, just going to strip all the paint off my bike. No, not really. This is actually to hold my tank up, a bit of like a chock. Just doubled them up like that and held my tank up high to get access to a bolt. An assortment of wrenches, metric 17, 14, 13, 12 and 8, and then sockets 17, 13, 12, 10 and 8. I've also got a short extender just to help reach those long distance ones. Some Loctite, pretty useful to lock in any bolts. Yes, that's the red one, but the dude in the shop and the packet assures me that it can be taken back off with hands, not machines. A pair of pliers just to reach any bolts that get lost down the chute, and that's about it. And the very first thing we're going to need to do is remove the bash plate. 4 little 8mm bolts there to remove the bash plate. Going to need to remove the bolts on this fairing here and here, so that we can lift the tank up. Going to need to remove both side fairings, bolt here and here, take the seat off so that we can lift the tank up, because one of the crash bars actually bolts in up underneath the tank. So yeah, let's get that done and then see where we go from there. Just be careful of these bolts for the upper fairings, because on both the left and right side they're actually different lengths, so that's worth noting. Okay, we also need to remove this bolt on the seat on both sides of the bike so you can move the seat and lift up the tank. And we've also had to change over to a 10mm socket as well. Okay, next up we remove these 10mm tank bolts. There's two of them, so that we can lift the tank up and gain access to the main bars to attach the Motech crash bars to. Okay guys, you can see here that I've just propped up my petrol tank with a couple of, well, they're actual brushes, but wooden chocks, just so that I can gain access to these subframe bolt nuts, which require an Allen key, which comes pretty standard with most toolkits, so that should be fine. Okay guys, so the first thing we need to do with this crash bar is this part here, which is identifiable pretty easily because it's the only part on the crash bar, is to place into those two holes these two rubber flanges, and then into those flanges we press in one of these spacers. So I'm going to do that and I'll show you what it looks like on both crash bars. Okay, so that's, you can see there, that's what that looks like, the finished product. Comparing to that guy, there he is, comparing to him, and then the last part of that installation there is just to push this last flange here into the hole. Easy as that. Okay guys, so the next part of installing these Motech crash bars is getting these clamps prepared to go into the bottom of the bike. They obviously just clamp on like this, but inside each of these areas in here we've got some rubber inlays just to protect against vibration, so you need to prepare those. They basically peel the backing off, slot him in on those ones, and with the clamp, we've got the clamp here, and that's just got a rubber strip that goes on the inside of that clamp. Just make sure that's been cleaned. I used a bit of my pants, which is not recommended, and then carefully try and get that in as neatly as you can, like so. A bit of a flap there. I'm sure that'll be fine. Might be able to trim it up with a Stanley knife. Okay guys, so starting on this left side, we now want to attach the left side crash bar. So we're going to remove this subframe bolt with this Allen key, and I've got a little friendly extender here to help me turn it. should only do one of these at a time to keep the integrity of the construction of the bike together. Okay, so that's what's coming out, and there's obviously a different bolt going in to hold the crash bar in. Okay, so next we've got this bolt, this spacer, washer to go into the subframe hole there to keep everything in place. So I need to attach some thread locker to my bolt to make sure that it doesn't come out. I haven't used this stuff before, so I'm just going to be fairly careful with it. Okay. I'm going to pop my spacer in the hole, and then I know that the crash bar comes next. So I've got a 17mm wrench here to screw that into place. Long way to go. Okay, so I've got that left side crash bar almost all the way in. You can see here. Left a little bit of a space for wriggle room and to tighten it up at the end. So I'm now going to repeat the same thing with this side, the right hand side of the bike. Okay, so now that we've got those both side crash bars on, we can work on attaching the front, which means we have to remove these two screws here and here using a 12mm socket. So because the camera angle is a bit dodgy, I'll do that and then show you what I've got. Okay, so these are the bolts that I got out of this part of the front of the bike, and over here in comparison are the bolts that will go in to that same spot. So you can see the difference in length. Get rid of that. Quite a bit. So the next job now is to get this ensemble of pieces attached to the front of the bike down here in these holes through the bike, and use the same bolts on the nuts that came out of the bike to tighten it all together. So I'll try and set that up so that you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, now we fit the spacers over both bolts, and the crash bar should technically slot in there. May need a friendly tap. Washer and original bolt with thread locker actually. Okay, so we now just need to tighten those two bolts and attach the clamps onto these parts of the bars, and then tighten everything together and they should be installed. Okay guys, so that's everything tightened. You can see the crash bar right hand side one on there. So the last thing to do now is to tighten up all the original fittings and loosings and fairings and bash plates and seats and whatever else we pulled off the bike originally, so that we can get it all back into one piece. So I'll do that and show you what the finished product looks like. Okay, so I've got all the bike back together now, and this is how it looks with the crash bars. Pretty sick, I reckon. I like the black because it blends in with the rest of the bike. Shoot around the back from that angle. Sorry about the shadow. So yeah, very happy with it. Can't wait to take it for a ride, and I'll let you guys know how it goes. No doubt I'll have a tip at some stage, and that can protect my fairings and save me literally a few $1,000s. So hopefully that install was easy to follow and it assists you in your own install. Cycle Preacher out. Peace. Have a good day.